I'm Richard with EV4U Custom Conversions. And in this episode, we're going to reinstall the shift rod. In a previous episode, we removed it and we talked about replacing the bushing. And so in this episode, we are to the point where we're putting it back together. The transaxle's back in the vehicle, the motor's back in, and so we've adjusted our clutch. So lastly, we're going to stick in that lifetime bushing in the vehicle and then slide the gear shift rod into place, connect our new coupler and attach it to the transaxle. So that'll wrap that part up. What we have left to do in this series, remember this series is the Karmann Ghia repair. That portion was the transaxle, and we also repaired our shift rod bushing. And then maintenance, and that was we inspected our batteries, the brushes on the motor, electrical connections, that type of thing. And then, so after this video, we'll start, well, we got the batteries to put back in still. But once we're put back together after our transaxle replacement, we will then move on to the improvement portion of this series, and that'll be the rear disc brakes, which we will be installing on this vehicle. So hope you stick around for that. But in today's episode, we're just simply installing our shift rod bushing and our shift rod and connecting it up. So let's get to it. So here we have our shift rod ready to go back in the vehicle. And so we're going to fish it back in through all of the holes in the body and in the pan. And I'm going to stop right there. And we're going to attach our piece of PVC that we used before for removing the rod. We're going to put that on there again to aid in installing the rod. Makes it much easier, much faster, and it doesn't damage the rod like the long nose pliers do. So you'll recall from our shift rod removal episode, we have our piece of PVC pipe with the little notch. That we're going to now attach to our shift rod. I've got the little hole here that we'll put one through. Now we get the pliers. Pull that through. That sits on top. And we'll go around like this. And we've got another piece that we're going to cut over the top here. Okay, and so these, keep these two together nice and snug. I'm going to snip this one. So it's not in my way. Snip. We'll snip this one too. Okay. Now Now we're ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide this in gently. I'm not going to force anything. And we're going to go all the way in until we get to our bushing. When we've got this to the bushing, just take a piece of wire. We're going to lift up the shift rod and fish it through that bushing. So once we've got it started into our bushing, I'll go back out front again, and we'll continue to slide this shift rod all the way through to where it's in the back where we can hook up our coupler. Once we've reached the shift lever hole here with our shift rod, we can now cut loose our straps. So I would remove that one and the next one, but I'm going to use both hands to do that so that I can have a grip on the wire tie with some long nose pliers, and then with the dikes cut it, and that way it doesn't fall down in the tunnel. Then once that's done, we can rotate this. It's at 90 degrees from where it should be right now approximately. We'll rotate it up and we'll bring the gear shift lever back and mount it where it goes. And I'll show you that in a moment. Once we cut the wire ties, then we can extract our piece of PVC. And that's it, folks. Installed. Very quick and easy compared to the way the books tell you to do it, a little bit at a time with long nose pliers. So anyway, next we can put the covers back on, put our bumper back on, button up the front end of our car. But next, don't need to show you that, but next we'll show you installing the gear shift lever. Install our gear shift lever. Our plate, which goes just like this, the long portion goes to the passenger side. We'll go in like this. Then our spring needs to fit on top of that and be centered. And we have to have our shift rod lever rotated, which I didn't do yet. Yeah. Okay. Put our spring over it. This underneath. Get one of the bolts in here. And the other one, making sure that nothing's underneath this. Okay. And making sure I'm in the make sure the ball's in the socket there. And indeed it feels like it. So just finger tightening these. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to set it to the marks that I made when we removed it, so it goes right back in the exact same position, and then we'll torque down these bolts. Next, we're going to install our new coupler. We showed you this in a previous video. We'll just disassemble it slightly here. We just got to pull the pin out. So this comes out. We'll take this bolt out for right now. And just got to raise this up before we can get it. Get everything to line up. Okay. Now I'll put this in. Two different size bolts here. Okay, I'll torque that later. The next what we're going to do is we're going to slip this back on to the shift shaft coming out of the transaxle. So wiggle it a little bit. Use my stick shift a little bit to help me here. Looks like it's lining up. Put our bolt in. I'm going to drop it down there in the tunnel. Get it to start threaded. Here we go. It's good. We'll go get a wrench and tighten that. And that part's done. Our rebuilt transaxle's in place and hooked up. The motor's back in. Our new shift rod bushing is in. And our coupler is back in place. Just need to torque things down. So what's next? Well, what's next is we got to cover this, put the inspection plate back on, put the panel back down in our battery box here, and reinstall the batteries. And we'll give you a little glimpse of that too in our next video. I'm Richard with EV4U Custom Conversions, and I thank you for watching.